The 2001 horror flick Jeepers Creepers is about a brother and sister, Trish and Derry Jenner, who are pursued by a demonic serial killer as they drive home from college for spring break. As they drive through the quiet country roads, they're playing a game making words out of people's plates when an old truck begins recklessly tailgating them. However, he eventually passes them and drives on. As the truck passes, Trish notices the license plate, which reads, "Beating you," which is actually supposed to mean be eating you. A little while later, they see the same creepy truck parked next to an old abandoned church with the driver acting suspiciously. He looks to be sliding bloody sheets with large objects in them and pushing them down a hole. The creepy man notices Trish and Derry driving by, and a few minutes later, they suddenly see him again in the rearview mirror. He again begins tailgating them at a dangerously close distance until he runs them off the road. After they recover from the initial fear of being run off the road, their curiosity gets the best of them, and they decide to go back to the abandoned church and see what he was doing. I won't give the rest of it away, but in my opinion, it's the best part of the movie. I've seen this movie quite a few times, so I was shocked to find out that the beginning sequence of that movie is actually based on a true story that happened in Michigan. So here's the story that inspired the beginning of Jeepers Creepers. On April 15th, 1990, Ray and Marie Thornton were driving on Snow Prairie Road in Coldwater, Michigan. Just like in Jeepers Creepers, they were playing a game they'd made up, trying to make words and phrases out of the license plates that passed them. A green 1984 Chevy van passed them at a high rate of speed, and Marie noticed the plate began with GZ and joked, "Geez, he must be in a hurry." After the truck drove out of sight, they continued talking and enjoying their Sunday drive. A few minutes later, as they were approaching an old school, Marie saw a man off in the trees carrying what appeared to be a white sheet covered in blood. As Marie was still trying to process what she was looking at, she spotted a vehicle parked between the school and a large tank and immediately knew that was the same van that had been tailgating them earlier. As the couple drove by, they began discussing what they should do. They decided that they should immediately try to find a phone and call the police. Of course, this was before cell phones, and they had to find a payphone to make the call. Marie tried to remember the license plate and began writing down what she could recall on a piece of paper. However, she could only remember the first few letters. Understandably rattled over what they had just witnessed, after a few minutes, Ray instinctively glanced up into the rearview mirror, and to his horror, he saw the van driving up behind them again, quickly closing the gap between the two vehicles. The van pulled up dangerously close to them once again and followed a very nervous Ray and Marie Thornton in this manner for several miles before suddenly whipping off onto a side road. Despite trembling with fear, they incredibly decided that they were going to turn around, drive back by the van, and get the rest of the plate number. As they turned around and passed the van, they slowed down to get a better look. They saw a very tall man wearing a white hat standing at the back of the van with the doors open. He was changing out the license plates. The man had left the passenger side door open, and they were both struck with pure terror as they saw that the interior of the door was completely smeared in blood. Unbelievably, the couple decided to drive back to the school and see if they could find out what he'd been doing. I shouldn't say unbelievably because this is totally something I would do. Ray and Marie drove back to the abandoned school and nervously got out to look around for what the man had been carrying. They looked around and saw a white sheet soaked in blood next to a small hole in the ground. The man had been trying to shove the sheet down into the hole, but it wouldn't fit, so he panicked and just left it lying on the ground. Ray and Marie Thornton got back in their car and drove as quickly as they could to call the police. They had no idea what this man had done, but they knew it was something horrible. 46-year-old Dennis Depew worked in Coldwater, Michigan as a property assessor. He had been married to his wife Marilyn for 18 years, and they had 3 kids together. Marilyn worked as a guidance counselor at Coldwater High School. Marilyn had become very unhappy in her marriage. She had been telling friends that Dennis was a bully, extremely controlling, and didn't allow her to make any decisions. Marilyn was very well liked and well respected in Coldwater. Dennis didn't like how social she was and didn't approve of all of the activities that she did in the community. She finally decided that she'd had enough and filed for divorce in 1989. Dennis was completely against splitting up, but he had been surprisingly agreeable during the initial stages as they were working things out. Dennis was awarded bi-weekly visitation rights, but the children would often push back and were very reluctant to go with him when it was his turn. He asked Marilyn to use the guest house on their property as an office. She reluctantly agreed, but soon felt that he had used it as an excuse to continue having access to the house and continuing to control the family. The relationship was strained at best, and Marilyn even changed the locks on their main residence to try and keep him from entering whenever he chose. However, he continued to find a way in on a daily basis. April 15th, 1990 was Easter Sunday. Dennis pulled up to pick up their 3 children per the custody agreement, but their youngest daughter refused to go. When Dennis went inside to get the other 2, his son also said he didn't want to leave with him. This threw Dennis into an absolute rage, and he began accusing Marilyn of turning his kids against him. When Marilyn tried to speak to him, he shoved her down a flight of stairs. He then flew down the stairs after her and began beating a very injured Marilyn, with the kids looking on in horror. He then picked her up and carried her up the stairs. Their oldest daughter ran next door to call the police. Dennis told the crying children not to worry and that he was taking their mom to the hospital. However, they never made it there, and Marilyn was never seen alive again. Police began searching everywhere for the Dupuis. When they were in the van, allegedly on the way to the hospital, which Dennis had no intention of doing, Dennis shot Marilyn twice in the head, killing her. Ray and Marie Thornton learned that they had encountered Dennis Dupuis as he was trying to get rid of the evidence and getting rid of Marilyn's body. When the police arrived at the scene at the old school, they matched the van's tire tracks to Dennis's van and the blood on the sheet to Marilyn. However, Dennis was long gone. While he was on the run, he sent his family 17 letters. In the letters, he ranted about the divorce being unfair and how he didn't want to start over at his age, and implied that Marilyn brought this on herself. In March of 1991, Unsolved Mysteries did an episode about Marilyn's murder and Dennis's subsequent disappearance. As the episode was airing, a woman in Dallas, Texas named Mary was just getting home from work and saw her boyfriend's van parked in the driveway. He told her that his mom was gravely ill and that he needed to leave immediately to go visit her, and asked his girlfriend if she could make some sandwiches for the road. After she gave him the sandwiches, he hugged her goodbye, got in the van, and drove away. Mary's friend was sitting at home watching Unsolved Mysteries and recognized the man immediately as her friend Mary's boyfriend. Dennis had been living for the past 11 months under the alias Hank Queen with his new girlfriend in Dallas. Dennis had seen the episode and knew he had to run. Mary's friend gave police his plate number and description of the van, and they caught up with him in Mississippi 4 hours later. When police caught up to Dennis Dupuis, he was driving the same van that he had killed Marilyn in a year before. When the state troopers caught up with him, a chase ensued, and the troopers shot out his tires. When Dennis couldn't drive any farther, he began shooting back at the officers. After firing off 2 shots, he then turned it on himself. Dennis is buried in Indiana, and Marilyn was laid to rest in Oakland County, Michigan. Dennis Dupuis may not be the winged demonic serial killer that's portrayed in Jeepers Creepers, but the scene that Ray and Marie Thornton witnessed that Easter Sunday was just as terrifying. So the next time you watch Jeepers Creepers, it should make that part of the movie even more blood-chilling. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know down below in comments what your favorite scary movie is this time of year. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. Stay safe and have a great week.